Welcome to another episode of Five Lemons Laughing. I'm Amanda. I'm here with Penny and Drusilla. Our beloved Morgan and Melissa are off doing life right now and aren't here with us. We do have an exciting episode today. Have you ever found yourself stuck in a loop of explaining, over-explaining your choices, your feeling, even your very existence, just to be accepted? What if this urge to justify, born from a longing to be accepted, is actually a subtle form of betrayal that gently, little by little, chips away at your inner peace and power? In this episode, we're diving deep into why we explain ourselves and how it quietly undermines our sense of self and how reclaiming our truth without apology can set us free.
Amazing stuff. Thank you, Amanda. So we're just going to invite everyone to just get curious with us without taking it so serious. Just get curious about this. So what if you didn't have to explain yourself to be worthy of love, respect, or belonging? You know, what if reclaiming your power starts with trusting your own truth and not offering explanations to anything or anybody? So let's explore how letting go of the urge to explain can open the door to deeper self-acceptance, more authentic relationships, and just overall a more peaceful way of being. You wanted to dig in? So let's just squeeze this topic to the max, ladies.
Well, I'm glad we get to start off with a chuckle, right? I mean, I think that's part of not over explaining. It's just seeing the light, that's part of it, is seeing the lighter side of life.
Yeah. In my journey, one of the things that I've along the way that I picked up, and I think it was when I was doing leadership coaching, is that explanation is a barrier to performance. It actually minimizes your performance when you go into explanation. So oftentimes when I find myself having that urge to explain the reason why I want something some way or whatever, I have to I catch myself and I go, hold it. Is this going to minimize my ability to perform? And not perform in the sense of like acting, but just perform in life. And that's been a pretty valuable tool for me. It doesn't always stop me, but it's been a valuable tool for me just to ask myself that question. Is this going to, hinder me in any way?
That is a powerful perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is.
Uh-huh.
You know what's coming up for me?
Do tell, Drusilla, do tell.
Yeah.
Anyone who watches Lucy or used to watch Lucille Ball,
loved
get
it.
this. Every time Ricky came home and she was getting into all kinds of trouble, first thing he would say is, Lucy, you've got some splaining to do.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. And from there, tall tales ensued, right?
Yes. Yes, she would dig deeper and deeper, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So
they really
took
it to the max.
What does over-explaining actually do? What is it that is negative about over-explaining? Or the negative ramifications of it, I should say.
Yeah.
That's a good question, Drusilla.
It is.
One thing that I heard just this morning listening to a podcast, it was a therapist talking about trauma and recovering and being able to just stand firm in who you are, your authentic self. And she talked about this just briefly. And what she said was when, for example, if you were going to, you had made plans to go out with a group of friends and you told them that you didn't, at the last minute, you just said you didn't feel like going because you were tired. Okay, so you're self-preservation, you're taking care of yourself. But if you start to offer explanations, then it weakens your stance. And then it also gives room for people to kind of make way into your story. Meaning, if you say you had to, I'm tired and I gotta, wash my hair and this and this, then they can say, oh, you can wash your hair tomorrow and you can do this the next day. And, it just offers so much opportunity for people to come in and kind of, usually what's happening is what she explained is that you're trying to break away from old patterns of people pleasing by just going along with things. And they're just still trying to play the same game with you and treat you as that same other person. Is kind of how she explained the play.
That's perfect. That's exactly. I see that whenever I start to explain, like, I can't do something, and I see it in like text messages or emails, I just go, hold it. This is going to give them lots of opportunities to poke holes in why I can't do something that they want me to do. So yeah, that was beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love, like no is a complete sentence.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. And I think part of over explaining, it really does give your power away.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a subtle form of manipulation too. So like I can't go to the party because it seems like over explaining is like diving into subtle little lies, right? Like it dives, it can, right? It can dive into just subtle untruths that undermine who we are. So like for your example, Drusilla, I can't go out because I have to wash my hair. I can't go out because, whatever. The truth is you could wash your hair on another day. The truth is you could do other things, but it's start justifying it in the mind. So it's a way of propping ourselves up. Well, like I can't go because. So we start telling these stories to ourselves, over explaining in our minds, over explaining to the people around us. That's for me, that's how it pulls our power away because it's not completely honest. Like when we live in complete integrity, it really elevates us. So the fact is, I don't want to go out because I don't want to go out. Right? I'm tired. Yeah. I mean, not you don't have to say like I don't want to go out because I don't want to listen to your bullshit, right?
It's kind of like a fine line though, because you don't want to go out because you want to isolate, or you don't want to go out because you want to, don't want to hear their bullshit. I mean, it's kind of a fine line because it's like really an opportunity to go inside and really see what's going on versus thinking that, I just got that. Ooh, this is a deep conversation, really.
It really
to be
is.
having.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that what you just said, Penny, even taking it a little step further and the self-reflection of, well, why is it that I'm really not going? And sometimes the self-honesty may not be something that you want to reveal. So in that case, what is your exit strategy? And what is it that you do feel comfortable communicating to someone? So maybe it is that you don't enjoy the company of the people anymore because it's too gossipy or, whatever that reason is. And of course, you wouldn't necessarily say that to the group of people. So then what is it that is okay to say and is integral, and authentic to say in that case?
Yeah, I remember when I first read the 4 agreements with Don Miguel Ruiz, and one of the agreements is to speak, be impeccable with your word, right? And that means not gossiping about yourself or others. And so a lot of times it was like, okay, now how do I let people know that I'm not gossiping anymore? Like, I don't want to hear the shit about somebody else. It's none of my business. I don't want. And that was like something to really work on. Like, how do you just state that boundary without over explaining it to someone to let them know that, you know what, it just doesn't feel good. And that's probably the simplest way to say, this just doesn't feel good to me right now. I'm gonna ask you, let's not do this right now or something like that. But that's it. And I think that's an honest way to say, I don't want to gossip. You don't have to go into the whole thing that you read this book and in the book it says, and, and so you're trying to live that.
I like that. I think that works.
Yeah.
I like the answer just, like, no, no, I don't feel like it. Cause that's the truth. Like, or, my favorite these days is my intuition is telling me not to do this.
Wow. And how's that received?
That's just a period, right? It just is.
So a lot of times when somebody would tell me no, I would say, what do you mean no? What do you got going on that's better than doing this? I mean, how do you respond to that?
Penny, I just don't know, but my intuition is telling me not to do this.
Okay.
Hit me again, Penny, to say something else. Like, what else would you say?
What the hell has your intuition got to do with it, Amanda?
Yeah, I really don't know, but I feel strongly that my intuition is telling me not to do this. I mean, like, repeat whatever it is, like my, whatever, my energy is low. If someone wants an explanation, I can't even put my finger on it right now, but my energy is low. Or maybe not, maybe like I can't even put my finger on it. Wouldn't be a whole truth if you know that this person that is asking you to go out is the reason that you feel like your energy is low, because there's a whole nother conversation about 100% responsibility. But, so I think the most important thing about not over explaining, like when we get into over explaining, we start to pull things that aren't 100% aligned with exactly what is true. And that's living in integrity. And that's where our power goes. That's, that's when our energy starts getting lower. We're not living that divine life.
Yeah, because I agree with that 100%, Amanda, because what it does is it starts to create this, the guilt. The guilt starts, and that's what the spiral of going down. That's why the vibration gets lower. And, and in your mind, I'm thinking back on some situations where I didn't want to go because of the reasons that I didn't want to be with that group of people, but I gave them another explanation. And then I did feel really bad. And I didn't really understand why, because I'm thinking, well, I'm protecting my energy. I don't want to do that. Like, why am I feeling bad about it? But I think that was it, that I wasn't really maybe I wasn't even being honest with myself and being honest with the group of people about why I didn't want to go wherever with them. So yeah, that's an important factor for sure.
And that's self-betrayal, right? Like, we're betraying self, even though it doesn't feel like a big one, right? It's just those little things that erode at our confidence, right?
Yeah, exactly. Too, I think with over explaining, another thing from the 4 agreements is that over explaining is valuing somebody else's opinion over my own. Yeah. And I think that gets to the core to it also, is that
definitely giving away your power.
Can you give us an example of that, Penny? I love that.
Okay, let me think of an example. God, there's so many. I've had to catch myself so many times going into explanation and stop myself, because it's probably that people pleaser in me that wants to please everybody. So if I tell them exactly what's going on with me, that maybe they will say, oh, okay, I bless you. You don't have to do this. So their opinion over what's going on is more important than what I think. So I need their blessing to be able to move away from whatever it is or whatever's going on. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I don't know of a specific example, but just the feeling. What were you going to say, Amanda?
That explanation kind of got lost in I didn't follow that line of thought, actually.
Yeah, I was going to try to reiterate it to see to make sure I understood it. So you were saying that, for example, if you decided not to record in the podcast one day and you were given an explanation about because you had this meeting and you can't move it because somebody else who's going to be in the meeting that's critical to the meeting, they can't meet at the earlier time, and so forth and so on. You're saying that you're giving all the additional details because what we think about you moving and changing the time is more important than the actual reason that you're moving the time.
Yeah, you got it.
Yes.
Yay. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I need your blessing to be okay with me not being able to record.
Yes, because you want
I'm not
us to like you and you want us to, yes.
And I may not be okay with not being able to record, but I need you to bless it so that it's okay. So then I can go into the other meeting and be fully present there versus thinking, oh shit, what are they thinking about me? I'm not recording with them today.
That's the people pleasing. You said it earlier. Yes.
Yeah. Wow, that's even deeper than I thought.
Wow.
How many times? I mean, and then the judgments come up, right?
Yeah. And I recognize that example. I can't, again, it's like hard to think of something, but that feels like something that I've done a lot too, right? Like I need this to be okay. So I need to over explain it so I can get some outside validation from somewhere.
Yes.
And seeking that outside validation, that's what really quietly undermines the sense of self.
Yeah, that's the disempowering yourself part.
Yeah.
So what would it look like if we didn't have to explain ourselves?
Well, it would just go back to the no. Like you said, Amanda, it's just no. What would it look like, though, if we didn't have to explain ourselves? Well, it would look like a very confident, empowered, courageous woman, just out there living her life, going with the flow. That's the person I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That explains it so well, right? So that's one way for me to start pulling my power back, right? Is to do that.
What do you see, Drusilla?
Yeah, that's what I see. I was just kind of thinking about what is it that makes it even difficult. And I flashed back to our episode on masculinity, where this was a part of what they are able to do so well that we're not, and besides the people pleasing, which we've already touched on, I think there's also this element of making sure everybody is taken care of and making sure everybody is okay. That the feminine part of us just wants to always make sure everybody's okay and people's feelings are not hurt, and that, and it does make it challenging to say no when you feel that your I guess it is your acceptance is at stake. Your acceptance, and that is very disempowering to think that belongs to someone else.
Yeah. Because that's a powerful statement, right? That is really disempowering to think that your justification for being comes from an outside source. If you're searching, I didn't say it exactly right. I can't think of the words, but you're looking for validation outside of you. That is disempowering.
And I've done that for years and years and years and years, looking outside myself for validation. Definitely.
Yeah.
And I can still slip into it now too. And that's why that question I ask myself, am I explaining? Is this a barrier to my performance? I wonder if I could probably create that to be something more A Course in Miracles. Like, I don't know. Let me think about it for a second, but yeah. Yeah.
So if we let go of the urge to explain ourselves, how does that open the door to deeper self-acceptance and authenticity?
Well, I think what starts to happen is you get the little wins. So maybe out of a group of people, someone does, like Penny just described, someone does come back and say, how dare you? What do you have that's more important than hanging out with us? You know, maybe that happens every now and again. But I think what happens is you start to see the validation happening within yourself. Like it becomes, instead of the spiraling down, you do feel vibrationally stronger and more empowered every time you do it, and that you can say no with confidence. I've experienced this myself through the last couple of years, even with, planning my family events and things, giving up just giving up and saying no, and just being good with just, no, I'm not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think just it's kind of like brick by brick, you build a stronger foundation of yourself and your self-worthiness.
Yeah. Yeah. It's practicing. It's just little practice. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And here's a little mind thinker. Like if we are wanting deeper connections, authentic relationships, how do those subtle little lies build up an authentic relationship?
Oh, juicy.
Juicy. That's part of this too.
Oh, so juicy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh, what just came up for me is that if there is someone who's not accepting of your no, then you don't have an authentic relationship anyways.
Wow.
Right? But that could be a smack in the face, right? I mean,
yes.
Sometimes you don't want to be that real. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what we're kind of dancing around anyways. If you're dancing around what you're going to say because you want to feel validated, you want to be accepted, then you're not ever going to be able to walk in your authentic self in that same environment. So either you exit left, right? Or you walk into it authentically and keep going. Mm-hmm. And that way that relationship becomes more authentic naturally.
Or it dissolves.
Or it dissolves, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they exit left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Having the self-confidence to do that is a process, right? And just speaking your truth is a first step in that.
Mm-hmm.
And here is something, to ponder. What if we go first in being our authentic self? What if we actually start saying no to things we don't want to do and build our confidence, and then it comes around when we're in the same type of situation and we're really authentically us. And then we show up, like to Penny's example earlier about gossiping. So we are authentically us. We have spoken our truth with a capital T, and we love ourselves so much that we love all the people around us. So we show up in this environment where there is gossiping, and then we speak from love. Right? Like what we're talking about doesn't actually seem to be lifting this person up. It seems to be tearing them down. And I just don't want to be part of that. Could we, shift the conversation somewhere else? Or this person seems to be in a really hard place. How could we lift this person up? Right? Like, so then, like being authentically you and showing up 100% in the vibration actually helps to shift the people around us.
Mm-hmm. Beautifully said, Amanda.
Yeah.
I actually had a situation very similar to that recently. And it was about gossiping. And I think I've mentioned this person before on this platform, but she's a very dear friend of mine, and she's kind of doesn't like to take no for an answer. She will pop up and say, I'm outside your house, come outside, girl, kind of thing, right? And it's so hilarious on some level, but and sometimes it's like I don't feel like I'm in the headspace to be able to handle this in the way that's aligned with my core beliefs. So I'd rather not be around, So in other words, I'm trying to create enough space for me to build my muscle.
Yes.
So that I can handle it in the way that you just announced, Amanda. But what I found is the more I tried to pull away, that I wasn't growing because I wasn't practicing, right? I was just siloing myself and thinking that I was building muscle, and I wasn't building muscle. So I gave up resisting the urge to be around her. So whatever she said, come on, let's go. We're going shopping. So I would just get in the car and just appease, right? So just the other day, she starts talking about two of our other friends and that they are in these, I don't know, toxic relationships, she would call it. And I said, well, you know what? I'm going to wish them the best in those relationships. I'm not there in their homes. I don't know anything about their relationships except for what they share. And I'm just going to choose to pray for them and hope that they have, that it turns out to be a good relationship. And she didn't resist and she didn't challenge. And yes, and it worked perfectly. And it wasn't until reflecting, because this has been going on for years now, that I realized that I was resisting and I wasn't growing through the resistance. I grew through the surrender, that she is a good person. She's a loving person. Just go along. And then I was able to create the environment where I could be my authentic self and say what I truly felt in my heart. Wow. And it worked perfectly. Yeah.
That's a great example.
That is a great example. Yeah. I'm going to give you a round of applause.
Yeah, right? I will too.
But I didn't think about it until you said that part. It's like, yes, you have to show up. And I continued to show up, and I would get in the weeds with it. And I'm like, what is this? Why can't I do this better? Like, I know what I should be doing. And I just needed the practice, not the isolation. I needed the practice.
Mm-hmm. That is a good point that goes back to Penny's statement at the beginning. Like, are you isolating or are you going to grow through this? Because, the insight of, showing up authentically and being able to speak authentically from love, right? It takes a lot of practice, and it's easier to say, right, than it is to put into practice, because I want to be clear. I'm super not good at this. Right? I mean, it's an aspiration. I'm so glad that you went through that example of surrender. Yeah. Amazing.
I love it. Yeah. I think of another example where I just showed up. I'm afraid I'm your friend, Drusilla.
You're lovable just like she is.
That's why you love me so much, right, Drusilla?
Yes. Yes, you're the same people. You're just showing up in different parts of my life.
Yeah. Anyway, and she said to me, like, when I showed up at her house, because I didn't think I was crossing any boundary, but she let me know clearly that I crossed a boundary. And I went, whoa, I got to really look at this, because I thought we were really good friends and I thought I could show up anytime I wanted to, but it obviously wasn't true. Thank God she was strong enough in herself that she could tell me that, even though it was like, what? Me? Not that way.
So do you think your relationship is stronger that she put up that bet since she actually vocalized a boundary?
Yeah, we had she unfortunately passed away in COVID, but we did have still a good relationship. It really had me to pause and think, and, to reach out to her before I just wanted to show up at her house and just check in and see if it was a good time, because I just figured every time is a good time when it's a really good friend of yours, right? So, yeah, but we had it was really sad when she died, and her name was also Penny. So, yeah. Well, it was her nickname. Her name was really Patricia, but she went by Penny. But yeah, she was one of my greatest teachers along this path, and really good friend. And she was also very spiritually minded. So yeah, it was a good thing. Thank God for friends that help us, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and Drusilla, I'm, in my mind, I'm like, damn it, Drusilla did it. I can start doing it too. I don't know if I'm very pleased with you right now, leading by example.
I mean, literally years, guys.
Yeah.
I will tell you, when I tell you the story, we moved into this home 6 years ago in September. And I think I've told the story before. It's a home that we bought to renovate, and we ended up moving in it and got stuck here during COVID. So we're still here. But she literally showed up on my doorstep, knocked on the door and said, I was working on this house. Working on this house. And that's how I met her. And 6 years later, this conversation for the first time just happened like 2 weeks ago.
Okay. That makes sense.
When I say a process, building muscle, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we have to build our mental fitness. I'm a positive intelligence coach for, and it's all about mental fitness, like building, we think that we can build our muscles in the gym, but we forget we need to build our muscles in our mind so that we can live this beautiful, joyous, and free and happy life. It's important.
Yeah. I mean, it's a thing, especially with our spiritual teachers and students. It's big difference in carrying around all of these principles in your mind and even speaking them and not truly acting and living them. Yeah.
Yeah, we got to walk our talk.
I know. It's time to level. Drusilla, it's your fault. We're up leveling again.
Oh, it's all good, right? It's all good.
Yes,
We're
it is.
coming to the end of our time, and I just want to hear Penny's Post-its.
Oh my God, it was really hard today. I mean, so I have a few of them, but I'm only going to share a couple because I think we just said the same thing over and over again. So explaining could be seeking outside validation, which is disempowering ourselves. So that was one of them.
That's a point. That's a big point.
Yeah. Yeah. And then your vibration increases. So you practice and build your foundation. And so we talked about that just now, that, if we need to build our mental fitness to have that foundation to show up authentically ourself in surrender. Yes. I love that part, Drusilla. Yeah. So it's not easy though. I think that's really the bottom line, is that we've learned is that sometimes it takes years to do this work. And so hang in there, everybody. Just hang in there because when we pause and we get curious about the topics like, over explaining that we did today, it just helps us to up level our game, like you were saying, Amanda. So as you move forward today, remember, you don't have to explain yourself to be worthy of love, acceptance, or belonging, or respect. Trust your own truth without apology. Be your authentic self in all situations. And that's where your peace and power lives. So let go of the urge to justify, and that opens the door to a deeper self-acceptance and authentic connection with everyone around you. Because when you up-level your game, everybody else up-levels theirs, or they go away, right? Yeah. So another thing I wanted to just remind you that if you're looking for spiritual counseling or coaching, all 5 of us on the 5 Lemons Laughing are here to support you, whether you're facing grief or life changes or relationship challenges, or whether you want to just deepen your spiritual path, because we offer executive coaching and spiritual counseling. So it's really, we're well-rounded here at 5 Lemons Laughing. So you can visit 5lemonslaughing.com to learn more. And if you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us reach more people. So thanks for joining us today. And I forgot to tell you, our next week's episode, we'll be exploring that every thought you hold is a prayer. Let me just repeat that again. Every thought you hold is a prayer. We're going to unpack that and squeeze the juice out of that one next week. Thanks for joining us today. And remember, your transformation is our greatest joy. And we can't wait to connect with you again soon. Have a beautiful day.
Bye, y'all.